Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to give another couple minutes for more people to join as they keep entering the room. So just a minute or two more and we'll start. Feel free to say hello on the chat, introduce yourselves. Okay, let's get started. Feel free to keep the messages coming on the chat to introduce yourselves. Thanks for those that have already done so. So I believe we are recording. Yes, we are recording this webinar now. So just as a heads up for everyone, this is being recorded to share with audience members for our own use and reference. If you have any issues with the recording, please note that to us, but please do be aware that the audio and the slides are being recorded and that will be shared with you afterwards. So hello from me very quickly. My name is Gisela Provasi. I'm a solid waste expert at the CAC Secretariat. I'll be moderating the webinar today, Wastewater Solutions for Climate Mitigation. This is the first of a webinar series. So we're very glad that we have a really great number of partners joining today. You're gonna hear today from a few of us, so we have some great presentations ready. First, after my quick opening, my quick welcome, you actually hear some opening words from Donovan Story. He is a waste expert and leads the TEEP program and the CAC Secretariat. And then from Caroline, who is the wastewater expert in the CAC Secretariat. I'll let Donovan introduce our other presenters, but just very briefly on some housekeeping rules. As I said, session is being recorded. To facilitate the presentations and minimize background noise, please keep your microphones on mute during the presentations, unless you're the one speaking, of course. If you have questions, you can use the chat as you're using now to introduce yourselves. Please pop the questions in any time during the presentations and we'll get to them during the Q&A. We really welcome diverse voices and we encourage the respectful dialogue throughout the event. So use the chat to talk and to discuss points in a respectful manner. You see the agenda here on the slide now. So as mentioned, there's just some opening quickly from me. And then you hear from CCC Secretariat experts on wastewater treatment solutions. Then we'll have two presentations on real-world examples from Senegal and then from Germany. We'll then go into Q&A session, and finally the closing remarks and wrap up. So this is a 1-hour webinar. That said, I think I will pass it over straight to Donovan for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Gisela, and thanks, Caroline, for also organising the event today. It looks fantastic. It's a great honour just to provide some opening remarks before I pass over to Caroline as a wastewater expert, and then, of course, our country representatives to also speak on their experience as well. So my name's Donovan Story. As Gisela said, I work at the Climate and Clean Air Coalition, which is a coalition supporting greater attention and action around short-lived climate pollutants. And you can find our very good website online for further information about all the work that we do. Today, though, it's really to introduce an increased focus on wastewater and to look at why wastewater and why now. So, Caroline, so why wastewater, why now? Well, I think there is much greater recognition today that greenhouse gas emissions, particularly problematic short-lived climate pollutants that are driving up temperatures in the short term, but which also lend themselves to positive responses to be able to cool the planet in the short term as well, are really significantly related to SLCP. So wastewater is increasingly being seen as increasingly important in terms of getting down methane emissions and also nitrous oxide as well. There's an understanding now that emissions from wastewater contribute around 5% of all total greenhouse gases, but that this is an accelerating trend, and we're likely to see around about a 20% increase in the next 5 or so years. In part, this is because of a successful approach of many countries to collection systems and treatment systems as well. They themselves, in terms of a centralized source of emissions, also become a problem in themselves. So in some respects, the problem that we face in terms of greenhouse gas emissions from wastewater and sanitation is because of a successful approach and a successful investment in collection systems, but then becomes a source in terms of centralization of being a source of emissions. We can also see that through NDCs that countries are aware of wastewater and sanitation issues as being problematic in terms of their climate ambitions. But one of the gaps that we do see through the NDC 3.0 round and the current round of NDCs is that there's less measurable and less specific actions that are taking place that we would like to see. So greater recognition of wastewater and sanitation as being a source of GHGs, but less detail and less specific measurable actions that have been taken that we would like to see. So that provides an opportunity for sure. We've also seen the UNFCCC has reported that emissions from wastewater are likely to be much greater than those reported because of weaknesses and gaps in measurements and in reporting, including through the biennial transparency reports. So it's also up to us as a community to support all countries, particularly those rapidly emerging economies in the global south, to be able to understand greenhouse gas emissions, particularly short-lived climate pollutants, through wastewater and sanitation systems, to be able to report on them, to be able to then frame that reporting as a way of soliciting and encouraging investment and technical support from other countries going forward. And I think the final point from this slide is that therefore, and the speakers will really speak to this in much more detail, we have to get the technology and the investment right. It has to be fit for purpose, and it has to have high impact, and it has to be a technology and the investment in that technology that is most suitable for context and has a proven ability to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but also treat wastewater and sanitation as a resource as well. Next slide, thanks, Caroline. In part, that last point I'd like to dwell on in terms of my role and also the great interest in this topic and the speakers in the event today is that the CCAC has recently invested a great amount of resources in establishing a technology and assessment panel, the CCAC TEEP, and I'll put the link into the chat on that soon so you can explore in your own time as well, which really does assess, the goal of TEEP is to assess proven and scalable best practices and technologies and to understand how we can scale those up, how they can be invested in, and what sort of measurable impacts we would see from technology which is fit for purpose and which is also scalable in lots of different economic and development settings. So the CCAC TEEP is looking at different mitigation measures. It's looking at potential barriers, behavioural, technology, investment barriers, and how those can be overcome to identify a range of technologies for countries to be able to use as a potential set of solutions, a potential set of technologies which they can work with, which fits into their wastewater and sanitation plans as well as their climate goals as well. And the CCAC TEEP also engages the private sector and MDBs in terms of helping us and helping countries identify the best available technologies that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions, but also provide co-benefits and other benefits in terms of healthier environments, but also opportunities to use wastewater as a resource. And we're pretty excited about this year in that there'll be a TEEP report dedicated to wastewater technologies and their adoption, which will be developed through the year, and we'll certainly have a major launch event around it, and you'll all be welcome to that, and hopefully it'll build upon today's presentations as well. So that's a little bit about the context and why we're here, the importance of this topic, also things which UNEP and CCAC are doing in this space, both now and then also going forward. I'm looking forward to keeping engaged with you, looking forward to today's event, and passing now to Caroline, our wastewater expert. Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you very much, Donovan. I'll quickly introduce Caroline for the audience. So Caroline Miyazaki, is a PhD level environmental engineer with international experience in water and wastewater projects across Europe, Brazil, and the USA. Caroline brings strong research, technical problem, and product leadership to sustainable development goals. Her work spans academia and consulting, with expertise with cross-cultural collaboration to promote practical solutions. So Caroline, very excited for your presentation on this first webinars of this series. And I'll let you start your presentation. We have about 10 minutes. We're just a couple minutes late, so it should be fine to go up to 8:25.
Thanks, Gisela. Thank you.
Thank you, Gisela. Thank you, Donovan. I think it was important for setting the scene and getting the we have this understanding of the background on why wastewater, why now. So in my presentation, I will focus more on the technical part. So I'm going to give you an overview of the latest UNEP DHR report, focus on wastewater treatment solution. On wastewater treatment solution for climate mitigation. So can you mute? There's someone talking at the same time as me. Yeah, okay. So this report provides an overview of the state-of-the-art knowledge on greenhouse gas emission. It aims to evaluate the global emission, how to mitigate and advocate for prioritizing greenhouse gas mitigation in this specific sector. So this technical guide supports decision makers, wastewater practitioners, and academics to identify the most suitable way in achieving net zero wastewater treatment. So Donovan gave you a bit of an overview of the potential of wastewater emission, but I would like to dig deeper here. So the wastewater sector globally accounts for 1 to 3% of the total greenhouse gas emission. So this is roughly compared to aviation industry. And the main contributor here are methane and nitrous oxide. As you can see here, though they have a significant impact on the global greenhouse gas emission. The methane specifically accounts for 7 to 12%, and nitrous oxide 3 to 7%. Those two gas, they are the most potent and harmful greenhouse gas that we face today. But the key point is that these emissions are not unavoidable. So if we change how wastewater is managed, the potential reduction, it could go up to 500 million tons of CO2 equivalent per year. And beyond these emissions, the wastewater also offers substantial co-benefits. Today, 9% of the wastewater is charged without recovery. So we could recover nutrient and energy. For nutrient specifically, we could alone, the nutrient recovery alone could meet 13% of the global fertilizer demand. And from the energy perspective, the wastewater contains 5 times more energy than is required to treat it. And where those emissions come from? So we categorized these emissions in 3 scopes. The first one is direct emission from operation, meaning that all this emission comes from the treatment unit. The second one here is indirect emission from on-site energy consumptions. So it is more related to purchase of electricity, and energy in the wastewater sector comes from pumping, aeration, treatment, and sludge handling. The key message here is that decarbonization of the energy sector has the potential to reduce the scope 2 up to 60% over the next 10 years. And then finally here, the scope 3 is the indirect emissions from the value chain. So it includes emissions from the processed chemicals and materials, construction and capital investment, off-site sludge disposal, and also includes employee commuting. Now I would like to focus more on what are the mitigation pathways and strategy. So in this figure here, you can see that those are the interventions that we could do today. So the left side represents the planning-based holistic approaches. So these are strategy ranging from major wastewater treatment plant upgrades to full reconsideration of conventional wastewater management practice. So it is more focused on long-term interventions. So one of the options could be going towards energy neutrality that addresses scope 1 and 2. So we could reduce methane emission by capturing the methane and transforming it to biogas, biomethane, and using it to replace the energy source. We also could deploy on-site and renewable energy by using, for instance, solar panels, and then we could minimize the reliance on fossil-based electricity. Another approach could be going towards nature-based solution. So those are low energy treatment. They are more passive and then don't require a lot of huge energy costs or even operation and upfront cost. And one of the technologies possible are treatment wetland, and depending on the technology selection, we could have lower carbon emission or even lower nitrous oxide emission. And as I said, we could also go into resource recovery by recovering nutrient, nitrogen, and phosphorus. On the right side here, those are interventions that can deliver immediate climate impact in the wastewater sector. So that these are actions that are feasible today, cost effective, and scalable. So they are our first priority here is optimizing existing system. So many wastewater facilities today already emit methane and nitrous oxide, but not because they lack infrastructure. Is mainly comes from how the system are currently being operated. So one of the options could be improve the process control. So I could give you an example here. So if we improve aeration, we control dissolved oxygen, we have a better understanding of the ratio of carbon and nitrogen, or we could control pH. So then we could reduce nitrous oxide and have an almost immediately benefit. We also could say another approach could be enhancing methane management. So sludge and anaerobic system are major sources of methane emission, but we also recognize that methane is a valuable energy resource. So we could optimize biogas production. So there are some technologies such as vacuum process. We could improve digester performance, implement regular methane leak detection and repair. And we could also use simple technologies such as cover sludge process or like open lagoons to capture the methane, have a proper management of this gas. And finally, we could have the process intensification. So today, many locations, municipalities, they demand a higher treatment objectives going towards of nitrogen treatment. So this part we could really highlight the importance of technology selection. So the criteria is not only water quality performance, but we also need to have greenhouse gas outcomes and performance. So what I try to show here today is that there are many interventions possible, and we could have a portfolio of practical actions that can deliver measurable climate benefits today. So just in summary here, the wastewater must be recognized as a climate solution. Yes, it is a source of emission, but also a source of mitigation. Policy and finance are key to scaling mitigation. So as I said, the technology and approach exist, but we need support from regulatory frameworks. We need to integrate into national climate commitment and access to finance. And finally, mitigation actions are available and implementable now. It's more about prioritization and coordinated actions. So I'm showing here some of the wastewater climate-related resources that have been published by UNEP and CCAC. You can find it online, all these materials. And many of these publications were part of the Global Wastewater Initiative. So this initiative started in 2013. The main goal was to address how wastewater is seen from just waste to a valuable source. So it's a multi-stakeholder platform that brings together a different organization, non-governmental organization, academia, governments, private sector, development banks. So everyone in order to step up for efforts against wastewater pollution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. We have some comments coming in the chat, but I don't see any direct question necessarily. but feel free to answer in written. We'll get to a Q&A session after the presentations, so keep the questions coming. Now we're going to go to our first of our two presentations of real case scenarios. The first one bringing this case study from Dakar, Senegal. We're going to hear from Abdoulaye Malo. Abdoulaye is the head of the water treatment and derivative products at the development department in Senegal. He's been working in the National Sanitation Office of Senegal since 2014, including head of cooperation, technologies, innovation, and research. The department manages all wastewater treatment plants in the Dakar region with a treatment capacity of 100,000 cubic meters per day. So you're gonna now hear from Abdoulaye. Abdoulaye, you can unmute and start. Please note you have 10 minutes of presentation time. Thank you very much. I'll give you a heads up when you have about 2 minutes left.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. Today I will present a strategic initiative led by ONAS to transform sanitation into a key driver of climate action, energy production, and circular economy in Senegal. Slide. As you know, on sanitation system, we have centralized and on-site sanitation. Sanitation systems are structured along a full value chain, include access to toilets, collection and storage, transport, treatment, and finally reuse and or disposal. Understanding this chain is critical because greenhouse gas emission occur at 3 different stages. First stage we found in septic tanks from household. If we talk about on-site sanitation, due to a relative long time allow degradation and methane emission, and more than 65% of population are using this system. When we talk about off-site sanitation, we identified 2 stages of gas emission. We can talk about treatment plant and disposal area if the treatment is not complete, or the environment which receive the liquid waste treated. Slide. This drawing in national level sanitation sector generate more than 1,000 gigagram of CO2 equivalent per year. And these emissions are mainly methane and nitrous oxide, which have a much higher global warming potential than CO2. The graph shows different scenario, including business as usual and mitigation pathway, highlighting the strong potential for emission reduction. Slide. And to the context of Senegal, currently less than 50% of wastewater is effectively treated, mean that 50% are released to the environment without proper treatment. This represents both challenge and opportunity. Improving treatment capacity will not only reduce pollution, but also significantly reduce greenhouse gas emission. Wastewater treatment plants in Senegal are undergoing major transformation. The focus is on increasing capacity, improving efficiency, and integrating climate-smart technology. This transformation is essential to meet both environmental and urban development challenge. Slide. And this is a case study for Cameroon. It is the bigger wastewater treatment plant in Senegal, located in Dakar. And we made a study with GDI support, Global Green Growth Institute, last year, in order to better understanding about the CO2 inventory regarding wastewater treatment plant. And Cameron is the flagship project in Dakar. The treatment capacity has been expanded from 19,000 to 92,000 cubic meter per day. The plant integrates a biodigester and cogeneration system to produce electricity energy. It also allows reuse of treated water and production of biofertilizer around 11,000 cubic meter a day. To give idea of energy optimization strategy, in the past, our energy bill were around 1 million US dollar per year. And now with cogeneration, we save 60% of the bill. And the modernization of Cameron treatment plant has led to significant reduction of carbon footprint. Methane is now captured and used for energy instead of being released into the atmosphere. This demonstrates how infrastructure upgrades can directly contribute to climate mitigation. Slide. And through the same study, from 2024 from 2014 to 2023, before rehabilitation, the treatment plant were working on overcapacity, 3 times more than the volume design, and the emission gas found is about 1.58 million tons CO2 equivalent, and all released to the atmosphere. Slide. And now from 2024 to 2041, it is the projection we done in the same study, show that emission decreased from 1.58 million tons of CO2 equivalent before rehabilitation to around 925,000 tons after. And this with better performance of treatment because of threshold level of liquid waste treatment. Methane accounts for more than 95% of emission, which means capturing it has a major impact. This creates strong opportunity for carbon finance. Slide. What I want to show in this slide is with biodigester technology, we are able to reduce emission gas and submit to carbon credit, but also optimize energy with cogeneration. And the last one is to develop circular economy with water reuse and biofertilizer production. Slide. Why this project is strategic? We have now better understanding of biodiversity impact for climate resilience. For the new NDC, we submit some conditional project, and this represents an investment of approximately 700 million US dollars. It aligns with a Senegalese climate commitment under the NDC 3.0. The vision is to transform wastewater treatment plant into multi-purpose platform that produce electricity, water reuse, and biofertilizer. In conclusion, sanitation is no longer just a service. It is a powerful lever for climate action, energy production, and economic development. We invite partner and investor to support this transformation. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abdullahi, and thank you also for keeping to the time perfectly. There were some questions popping in the chat, so feel free to have a look at that, but we're going to go straight to the next presentation and then get to the Q&A session. So again, great presentation. Thank you very much for sharing your experience. Next, we're going to hear from Mr. Karam Kudari from Hamburg, Germany. Karam is the environmental engineer specializing wastewater management and process engineering. He joined Hamburg Wasser in 2017 and focused on international development projects in the water sector and managing water operators partnerships. Currently, for example,